So really warm welcome to Space, warm welcome to Meditating with Brixton Buddhist Community, and particularly warm welcome if it's your first time. So we're here in Space in Brixton. It's a hybrid class, so it's a live class and streaming live to you behind the camera, so to speak. So yeah, very warm welcome to the evening. I'm Mike Chinara, this is Charlotte. We're going to be co-leading the class tonight. And what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks, if you've been tuning in, is that we've been looking at the metta bhavana, but in a way without the kind of bhavana, without the development. We've been looking at receptivity, ways to kind of cultivate, explore, kind of open, kind of patient, kind of benevolent way of just kind of being with our experience. And so yeah, don't worry if you've not been tuned in over the last couple of weeks. This would be kind of standalone class as well. So what you might have experienced over the last couple of weeks, if you've been trying that approach, is that you might start to experience that being with your experience can. Well, it's not always easy just to stay with what's happening without going off into fantasy and thoughts and about all sorts of things. But if one can stay with what's going on and almost go through the structure of the metta bhavana and just stay with what's happening, things can just start to emerge. Metta can start to just emerge naturally. But the question is, well, what if that doesn't happen? What if that doesn't start to happen kind of spontaneously, so to speak? So what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be starting to talk, well, Charlotte's going to be talking a bit in a moment about how to kind of start to develop, gently start to develop, start to kind of cultivate ways of actually developing metta or bringing that a bit more into our actual experience. Yeah? So yeah, we'll be doing that in a moment. Before we get to that, before we get to Charlotte talking us through that, and particularly it's going to be exploring kind of gratitude and ways that gratitude can open up our experience of the metta bhavana. Before we get to that, we'll just do a little body scan. So we'll do a body scan together just to kind of tune us in and get us present, get us here and now, get us up to the now. So we can catch up with ourselves from the day. Yeah? So let's do that. So yeah, if you want to get yourself into meditation posture and at home as well, just get yourself settled into a meditation posture. And if you're not sure what that is, you're just trying to sit quite upright. Upright but relaxed is the kind of key to the posture. You can do that on a chair, and you can do that if you want on the cushions on the floor. Okay, and there's lots of just to say also that there's lots of little videos on our website about how to set yourselves up in meditation. So yeah, just setting yourself up in quite an upright posture, but just start to get that sense of feeling kind of upright but relaxed. So there's just a little point between being upright but also kind of softening ourselves into our kind of posture, the way we're sitting, just kind of softening into that. So then we can just find that we're having this physical experience, just tuning straight in to how it feels in your body. And just generally, that might feel quite pleasant, or it might feel a bit unpleasant, or you might just not be sure. So you're just tuning into how the body feels. And then you can start to experience the body more strongly where you're contacting the ground. So you can feel where your weight is contacting the ground, there's a more intense quality to the sensations there. So we're just feeling them, that's all. We're just feeling those sensations that are present there. Letting everything else just kind of go on around us. Sound, feelings, thoughts. But kind of tuning into that groundedness. Just seeing if you can allow your legs to kind of really relax into the floor. So relax into the ground so that you're not holding or gripping at all in the legs. And then just noticing the area of the tummy. You might feel the breath moving in the tummy. Various sensations in the area of the tummy. And again, just see if you can start to soften in this area. So that's just a kind of intention. So it comes with the awareness, we're just starting to feel a kind of letting go in that area. So the legs are heavy into the floor, starting to let go in the tummy. And then we just feel our upper body rising up from this foundation. We can feel the upper back, the sensations that are present there in the upper back. And the areas of the shoulders. And again, just see if you can notice whether you're gripping or tensioning in the shoulders. And then it's enough just to bring the intention to start to soften or start to let go in that area. Bringing your attention up now into the area of the face, into the area around your eyes and forehead. And now just seeing if you can allow your eyes to soften, so your gaze slightly softens behind the eyelids. Start to allow the forehead to smooth. And the area around the mouth, muscles around the mouth start to let go. Get this sense of resting resting in your face. And now just bringing awareness into the area of the chest, the rise and fall of the chest. The heart centre, the middle of the chest, just feeling what there is to be felt there with the breath. It's like we're just dropping into the heart centre and just kind of, as in a well, just kind of feeling around, just feeling for the sensation, feeling for what it's like just now. And now just starting to come back to yourself here, sitting in the room or sitting in your room, in your bedroom, your front room, wherever you are. Feeling the contact with the ground and feeling yourself meditating alongside other people. Okay, great. So do let it be known who you are. We'll get a chance to have a shout a bit later on. So do let us know who's watching, where you are, where you're watching from. It'd be good to know. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Charlotte, and she's going to talk us into an aspect of the Metta Bhava.
Definitely joined by a fly this evening that seems to like hanging out with me. So the Metta Bhavana, I thought we'd just start off just with like a little kind of summary of what we do in the stages. We've got some seasoned meditators with us at Everest Space, but for anyone new who might be with us this evening, so it's we teach as a 5-stage practice here. Normally, there's different ways that you can do it, but we teach it in 5 stages, so that we're bringing to mind different people in each of the stage and developing a sense of loving kindness, kind of well-wishing towards them. So in the first stage, we have ourselves, what can be one of the most challenging stages that some of us will find at different stages in our practice. Then the second person we bring to mind, a good friend. Third person is what we call the neutral person, so someone that we kind of neither like nor dislike, but kind of like are on our radar. So maybe someone we know of at work, or someone we might see at a shop that we go to. And then in the 4th stage, we've got what's traditionally called the enemy. We'll get onto that stage a little bit more in depth later on this evening, because it'll be quite helpful to go into that a bit more. And then in the 5th stage, we're bringing to mind all these 4 different people, and we're trying to get a real kind of sense of them kind of in their kind of full kind of humanness. and develop a kind of equal sense of this kind of like well-wishing and sense of solidarity towards them, whether or not we like them or dislike them or don't really know them. And then the fifth stage, we just start bringing to mind kind of more and more people, more and more non-human life as well, across space and time. So we start off with just ourselves, and we end up with basically all life throughout the universe across all time. So it's a big meditation practice, but also one that sometimes can kind of feel straightforward. You can kind of like anyone can get on. You can learn the stages, you can learn a bit about the practice, and you can get on with it. But it's got a very kind of big vision at its heart. We had a couple of weeks focusing on the kind of more receptive side of the practice. So kind of really being with our bodies, particularly letting go of any kind of idea that we should be having a particular experience towards ourselves. That can really get in the way. I don't know if anyone's had that where you just kind of feel like, oh, I'm not a good meditator because I'm not feeling nice, not feeling happy towards this person, or I don't know, you've met someone at class who you think always seems really smiling and happy, and you think, oh, they must have a really enjoyable experience every time, but you're just a bit miserable or you don't really feel anything, whatever. So yeah, those first kind of couple of weeks were just about dropping any idea about who we are and what it means to do this practice. Because really, if we don't do that, there's just a real block, really, basically, to kind of going further with it. So we just got to be really realistic about what's actually going on for us, and know that everything is kind of okay, as long as we're not kind of going down a kind of tunnel of the hatred bhavana or something. We're just getting more and more in negative mental states. Then kind of everything's kind of permitted. And I think that's really important because, let's face it, it's just you and your own mind. No one's listening to you. No one knows what's going on in your head. They're just doing their own meditation. So if you can't give yourself permission to just be honest with yourself about what's actually going on in your mind, I think that's really fundamental. So so we spent a couple of weeks on that, and I think that's something we just kind of keep needing to work on, and is still relevant today. But the next couple of weeks we're going to be bring more into the bhavana side. So the bhavana bit of the metta bhavana is the kind of cultivation and development of. And sometimes, even despite having a really rubbish day, you might find that you sit down and you start doing the practice, and something just happens. You just something quite naturally kind of starts arising, and you do quite easily feel kind of warm, or kind of positive and friendly towards perhaps even everyone in your practice. I know it doesn't happen that often for me, but it does happen sometimes. It's just a bit of surprise. I thought I was in a really bad mood, and it doesn't seem to have anything to do with what I'd been feeling like that day. It just kind of spontaneously arises. But also there's plenty of times when that doesn't happen, and what do we do then? I remember someone in I don't think it was doing the metta bhavana, but I think it was a different meditation we were doing once. Someone on a course just described feeling sort of like a slab of concrete or something. Just it was just maybe that might have been the course we did together actually. There's kind of real sense of hardness. And we can often feel that around the heart. I hold a lot of stuff in my stomach as well, so I can feel this real kind of closed down feeling kind of towards everything, ourselves, life, whatever's going on. So what do we do then? What would be helpful? Again, it's really just important to drop any idea that's about making yourself having a particular kind of feeling, because otherwise you're just going to have this hardness, and then you're going to have some kind of I don't know, it's just not really going to work. If you try it, it doesn't really go anywhere. You still just feel you get a bit more tense actually, I think. There's this really sort of interesting sort of process if we start developing a bit of gratitude. Fly. You can learn to fly. I'll put you in my fourth stage today. It would be really bad if I squished a fly on camera, wouldn't it? Trying to do loving kindness all things. I'm really nervous now. Okay, just Don't hang up there. Back on. Yeah, so I've been doing a bit of gratitude practice over the years, and it's really helpful. I did it when I've had sort of particularly sort of low periods, and I've been kind of really struggling, and it does seem to sort of connect us up with people, and kind of seem to be a way in of developing metta. But I think gratitude can also feel a bit like metta in some ways. We can often treat it like a noun that we either like have or we don't have, or you either are grateful or you're sort of not. It's like a sort of a, I think metta can be a bit like that as well. The idea you kind of like have it, but like how do you sort of do the doing of it to get it going? I thought I'd sort of just have a bit of a Google today and see like kind of what some of the root, you know, when you have like a little, you might like this, Cheryl, actually, you know, when you look at like some, I don't know if like history of words, this thing. Cheryl's the teacher, I just assume she'd like this kind of stuff.
Looking at that stuff on the internet.
Yeah,
Spot on.
yeah, and the Knoxville lakes. And yeah, so I was looking at the kind of history, and some of the kind of roots.
Etymology.
There we go, points for Cheryl. Of the word, and actually what I quite like is it starts getting you into the verbs. And is it like maybe it's I'm not sure my age and interest in music, but I think it's a Massive Attack song. It talks about love is a verb, it's a doing word. So I think if we start looking at metta and gratitude as a verb, so like an action that we do, then it's sort of easier to get a head around it. So some of the roots with gratitude link us up to some old Indian words around sort of like to sing or to praise or to celebrate. So again, it's something that we can kind of that we can kind of practice. You don't just have to like feel gratitude because, well, if you don't feel it, you just like, well, you don't, do you? So it's much more this idea of like a practice of recollecting something that we've benefited from another person. So what we're going to do tonight is we'll do the 5-stage practice. When we bring to mind everyone, we're just going to really start with just like being in our bodies, really just seeing what's actually going on. What's going on in our bodies, particularly around the kind of heart area, and but I think also really the belly as well, because it's such a kind of a big emotional centre. I think the belly, isn't it? Holds a lot around there. So connecting these kind of strong emotional centres in the body, particularly see what's happening there. Then we're just going to try and bring to mind something that we're grateful for that person. So like for ourselves, it can just be really simple. It could be like the fact that we've like turned up to meditate today and doing our best to look after ourselves. Similarly with a friend, might have sort of memory of something they've done for us. The neutral person might initially seem a bit kind of tricky, but of course they'll be doing sort of lots of things for lots of other people that we benefit from. So it might be the person at the shop, or I don't know, I've just had a rooibos tea, like someone's put that, someone picked the tea leaves and put that in a bag and made the cup and things as well. So kind of like try and use our imagination. It's a real kind of practice, this meditation, for using our imagination to connect with something that we've benefited from this person that we don't know so well. And then then the fourth person, the enemy. I think this is a particularly good practice to do with this person, because I think even just labelling them the enemy, we've kind of sort of cut off from them. We've got a story that's kind of become quite fixed about what they've done and who we are in relationship to them. And I think just even like reminding ourselves like there's more to them, more to our relationship, particularly say if it's a friend, than just kind of this particular thing that's happened. Even with people we find like really, really difficult at the moment, I think that can be really helpful and open something out. But again, you can't kind of like force it. You just need to bring to mind the thing, and then to see what happens, and notice what it feels like to bring to mind a thing. Like you might not want to, like sometimes you just don't want to let go of this idea that like they've done this thing, they're kind of that kind of person. So just maybe see what even like the process of recollecting something they've done kind of has, what effect that has on your mind. You might try and kind of resist it. And then in the final stage we'll just kind of expand that out to kind of more and more people. So we'll there we go. Any initial questions from the floor about doing it? No, cool, okay, well, we'll just give it a go. So it's a good idea just to choose now the people who you want to bring in to the practice. just kind of go with whoever kind of first pops up. It's helpful just to stay with them. Yeah, so make a decision about who we'll bring in. And when we're ready, just getting back into our meditation postures if we're not in it already, doing any adjustments we might want to make. We'll meditate for about 20 minutes. So just make sure you're comfortable enough to sit for that long. And closing our eyes if that's helpful for you. Just noticing what it feels like to draw inwards into the body. Noticing the contact of our bodies with ground or the cushions beneath us. Noticing the movement of the breath in the body, both in the front of the body, and the sides and the back. Just scanning through the body from our faces, down the spine, through the body, just noticing if there's any particular areas of tension. If so, you might want to take a few deeper breaths in, imagining the breath moving into that area of the body, just helping it to relax a little bit more on the out breath, if it is able to do so. Just checking in now with kind of emotional sense, how we're doing today, how we're doing right now. Particularly any associated sensations around the heart area or the belly. If you've had a particularly stressful day, you might experience it up in the throat as well, and the shoulders. Just giving yourself permission just to really feel however it is you're actually feeling now. Just being honest with yourself. The Metta Bhavana. So it's threading this practice of gratitude throughout the Metta Bhavana. And in the first stage, starting with ourselves. Just bringing to mind something that we've done today, this week, that's been of benefit to us. That might be a visual memory. You might just say the words of what you did in your mind. You might even have quite a felt sense of what happened. Seeing what the effect is on your experience of recollecting that. If there is more of a sense of goodwill, kindness, gratitude towards yourself, just allow your concentration to move towards that a little bit more. And just checking in to see what physical sensations are connected with this in the body. Before we move on to the second stage, you might even just want to say thank you quietly to yourself. Bringing to mind a good friend. And see if you can bring them to mind through recollecting this memory or something that they've done that's benefited you. You might have a real sense of like place where you were, even what the weather was like, the time of day. Just letting the imagination help us kind of occupy that space again with that friend. Maybe it was just on the phone, over Zoom. So what is it that happened? And just, see if you've got a felt sense of that memory of how you felt in response. How does it make you feel now as well? Again, you're not forcing yourself to having a particular feeling. It's more about the recollection. Now just checking in to see if there's some goodwill, metta arising towards our friend. And what does that feel like in the body? you've really wandered off, you might just want to notice what that feels like to have wandered off to something else that you maybe tensed up in your body. Just coming back to your friend, maybe bringing to mind that memory again, that recollection. Noticing if that has a different effect to when you were wandering off. Maybe there's more of a sense of relaxation and ease. Again, before we move on to the next stage, we might like to just thank our friend. Moving on to the third stage, our neutral person, someone we neither like nor dislike. Just putting some time and effort into allow them to come alive in our imagination. So if it's someone we know, we see quite regularly, you might imagine yourself in the situation that they help you in. Maybe it's at a shop or at work. You might have also chosen someone that you've never met before. So I'm going for the people who picked my tea leaves for my rooibos tea this evening. Just having a sense that they're somewhere out there. I can bring to mind a sense of enjoyment of drinking my tea. And that enjoyment is directly linked to their life and their work. See if when we're recollecting, see if we can notice any feelings of pleasure in the body. Noticing if there's a sense of goodwill and kindness towards them. And taking a moment to thank them if we want to. Allowing them to fade in our awareness for now. I'll come back to them. Bringing to mind a person we find difficult. First of all, just try to bring them to mind just as you would normally. Might start off even by, just sort of noticing what in particular is it that you're finding challenging about your connection with them at the moment. Seeing how that feels in the body. Maybe there's some tension emerging. It's just being honest and receptive to how we're doing. Noticing if there's a particular story attached to why they're in this state. And is there discomfort in the body connected with that story? I'm not going to get into truth or whatever of that particular story. We're not denying it. We're just not sort of going into it at all. Not denying discomfort that we're feeling at the moment. We're just going to see if we can just experiment with recollecting something that they've done that we've benefited from. Firstly, just noticing what happens when I just even suggest that. Do you feel up for trying that out, or do you want to go, no, I'm right, no? See if you can treat it as an and. There's what's going on, and it's maybe this memory of how they've helped you out. Doesn't need to be anything major. See if you can really sit here with both those experiences, the discomfort and the recollection of how they've helped us. What does that do? What does that do in your body? Again, just being honest with what's actually happening. Not trying to force a breakthrough or anything. Perhaps we could also try thanking them, that positive thing that they've done for us in our minds. In the fifth stage, we'll just bring to mind all these four people: ourselves, a friend, the neutral person, the person we're finding difficult. Just, bring to mind again all these ways that we've benefited ourselves and benefited from other people, these three other people. And just have a couple of minutes now just to start expanding that outwards, bring in more and more people, recollecting more and more ways that we've benefited. Even just starting from where we are right now, sat on these meditation cushions, what conditions we needed to be here today. And just see where your mind wants to go. And using the imagination to bring to mind more people and more ways we've benefited. Don't forget all these non-human life forms around as well. Pollinate all the plants we eat and bring us joy. Again, noticing what the effect of that is on our body. Is there pleasure there? What does that feel like? Again, seeing if there's a sense of kindness, intention of kindness and goodwill. Emerging to all these life forms. Finally, we'll just take a few moments not to do anything at all. Not meditating, not trying to cultivate anything, remember anything. Just absorbing the practice. lovely meditation posture if you'd like to. We'll probably start by going over to the chat room and seeing who's joining us this evening.
Yeah. So we've got Debbie from Port Talbot. Where's Port Talbot?
South
Wales.
South Wales.
Yeah, I think it's Gurdy.
Gurdy. Okay, good. Good that you joined us. Thanks for joining us. Jill and Gypsy Hill, I know where that is. That's in South London. We've got Chris from Tulse Hill and Alex B. Good to have you with us. Alex is doing the Zoom later on. Anna from Clapham. You've got Annabelle from Cambridge. Oh, hi Annabelle. There's someone called Sunset Films. Now that can't be your real name.
Could be.
It might be, but you're in Forest Hill. Thanks for joining us. Hi Maisie, nice to see you. Nice to have you with us. Harriet has joined us from Elephant Castle. Okay, and here, present in the room, present correct. Who's here? Well, you can't see them on camera. Maybe it'd be nice if we just say who our names and who that we're here. So we could go round.
Jack. Ian.
Cheryl.
Stefan.
Lisa.
Good. All right. So we've got a little bit of time now just to, if there's any questions, we've got a bit of time for questions. So either from you guys on the chat box or you guys. So anything you wanted to ask Charlotte, any comments or questions?
I'd be interested to know if anyone's done kept a sort of gratitude diary or anything outside. I know a few people have phases of doing it. Has anyone here tried keeping a gratitude diary?
I have gratitude moods where I write in my diary, but it's not specifically gratitude. But I do gratitude meditations sometimes, but specifically that.
Yeah. Do you choose to do them at particular times? Like when you say that you do some gratitude meditation?
Before I go to bed, I kind of rotate it. I do Metabath and I'll do a gratitude another night. I find it really, really useful. Really helpful.
Yeah. What kind of effect do you think it has?
Oh, massive effect. Because I'll go through the day and I'll think about what I'm grateful for, and it can totally change my approach to the day or my perception of the day, and definitely it improves my relationships so much. Because it puts the small little things in perspective, the small little grumbles in perspective, and it just definitely improves that kind of feeling of meta.
Yeah, great. Lisa, you said you've done that.
Yeah, I'm not keeping a gratitude diary at the moment, but I kept them for like 3 months last year, and I wish I'd continued it because it was really nice to look back on, because it really transformed my memory of those 3 months really, and just like all these little things that I wouldn't remember, but I was really appreciated in the moment, and it was really nice to think of the people I was grateful to and stuff. So I definitely, is always something I tend to continue. But I do recollect before I go to bed, a bit like Cheryl, I try and recollect like 5 things for me that I'm grateful for about the day, and that's again is a really nice thing to do before going to sleep. It helps reset my impression of the day, I think.
Any sort of particular comments or questions? I mean, I'm particularly interested around the kind of neutral person and the difficult person, like actively sort of trying to deal with them. Because I think when I've sometimes done more of like a kind of conscious gratitude practice, it's sort of easier to bring to mind the things that I would normally sort of think about. But it's a bit of a different thing to then try and think about something positive from someone I'm having a bit of a tricky time with. So just wondering how people found that.
I found it okay actually, because I was able to particularly I thought the neutral person would be difficult, but I was able to focus on their occupation and what that sort of generally brings. And even with the difficult person, because I have a personal relationship with them, I can see them as a complete person, so it is easy to pick out something about them that's not totally horrible and kind of work with that, you know.
I mean, it's good to be like, you know, have good set the bar,
low, yeah.
not totally horrible.
The bit that I struggle with though is the expanding it out bit, and just actually in general at the moment is something that I've noticed, and I think it's a kind of lockdown residual fear that I've got of other people. It makes me sound really crazy, I think, but there's something about not being used to being around people, and I find in meditation it quite difficult to sort of visualise other people I don't know and to kind of generate any sort of gratitude or metta towards them. So that was what I was just noticing just then as well, you know, when it got to actually expanding it out beyond people I've had any contact with. I was really struggling to.
Yeah. When you say struggling, do you feel like what happens in your body? Does it feel similar to, like, I don't know, when you might be out walking or something and you know notice other people in the park if you're out going for a walk or something?
Yeah, a bit like, you know, when you see someone in Sainsbury's, like, put your mask on, stay away from me. That sort of, it's a similar sort of reaction. It's strange.
Yeah, it'd be good. It might be interesting to like explore for you like the sort of connections between like the neutral person stage and just what it's like being out and about, and like where is that in the body as well, and maybe have particularly that sort of phase going back to the kind of first couple of weeks of just being with the kind of more receptive side and seeing like what comes out, like it might have particular labels like fear or anger or anxiety or all sorts of things, but it might just be certain kind of set of sensations that kind of caught up with it in the body. So sounds like it could be quite a rich area to kind of touch into a little bit more. And then maybe then just like have, if you're doing it at home, just expanding. I often find this, like whichever area, you know, whichever bit you're sort of struggling a little bit more with, sometimes just having a few more minutes on that stage, particularly on the kind of getting into the body bit, I think can be quite helpful.
I found that approach to expansion really useful. I think sometimes I've struggled with that myself, as it can sometimes feel quite conceptual in terms of expanding, you know, kind of geographically, again, across people. Again, I've never necessarily met, but trying to still have met them. I'm sure still having some. But yeah, I guess the way of expanding through those networks, or appreciation of those networks, understanding how they've all kind of played a role, for me it made it a lot more kind of tangible. So you then just expand off that.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have in this practice actually, is making people real. And you know, sort of getting to know how our own particular imaginations work. To know sort of, okay, well this actually makes someone real, because you can have a response to someone who's real, but it's very difficult to have a response if they're kind of like a slightly sort of amorphous, vague mass in our minds.
Yeah, I've always kind of visualise it as these kind of lights or dots around the globe. I'm kind of trying to have metaphor, and whereas it sounds a bit crazy. Whereas this, it makes them a real person, a real entity.
I don't think it's crazy at all. I think I can go quite vague in that stage actually. I sort of almost go into this kind of like almost having like kind of like bird's eye view of the world or something, and then it doesn't. Sometimes it might do something, but like most of the time actually I think it kind of doesn't. But I think it is about how do you actually get a kind of like one-to-one connection with someone. I don't know if anyone else has that, like how to stop the fifth stage of being really
I
vague.
tend to do things like I break it down by age. Like I think of all the people who are older, all the children in the world, all the people who are like in their 30s. I know it sounds strange, but I can visualise them a bit more. Or I might think of all the females in the world, all the males in the world, and I sort of break it down by these categories, and it just helps me visualise people a lot easier than that kind of satellite view that you get when you just do it geographically.
That's a good way to try. All good kind of ways just to expand a bit. Well, come to past, so maybe I'll hand over to you for the next bit.
Okay, Okay. So I mean, what I have to say now is it's a very uncertain world at the moment, isn't it? A very uncertain world, and we need help. We need help to live in an uncertain world. It's not easy. So what we're trying to do is give practices and meditations and so on that help us to handle living in an uncertain world. Yeah, we can't take away the uncertainty, but we can help kind of help with our kind of response to that. So that's what we're trying to do in Brixton Buddhist community, and people are helping us to do that. So people have been really generous in helping us to do that, so that we can keep providing those practices and meditations and classes like this. But then also we're putting on festivals soon. We've been putting on retreats, and hopefully before too long we'll be inviting people back into this space. These are friends that we kind of know, but after a while we're going to be making it open to more and more people, both new to Brixton community and people who've been around longer. So to help us to do that, people have been really, really generous. We've been trying to raise £2,000 a month in order to support all these things that we've been doing. And so far this month, we've raised £984 through your generosity. So I particularly like to thank Matt for his donation, Harriet, who's here with us tonight. Thanks, Harriet, Ollie H, and Joe S. So thanks very much for everything you're doing to support us. You can find the link to make a donation in the chat box or in the description underneath the video. So I want to tell you about some of the things that are coming up. So part of that kind of funding us to kind of keep creating a community is to keep innovating, and one of the main things we're innovating on is a new course called The Journey and the Guide. It's a fantastic course. I'll be leading it alongside my good friend Sagar Asila, and what we'll be looking at is the 5 great Buddhist principles of how to work with your mind. Your mind is what as we've already seen tonight, our mind is what kind of illuminates our experience from the inside, or kind of squeezes the life out of our experience. Yeah? So working with our mind is really, really important. So we're going to be looking at these 5 stages, or these 5 great principles through this course. And the really cool thing is that we'll be doing that in our actual lives. So it's an online course, and then we'll be going off and we'll be working with those things in our actual lives, and then coming back and checking in with each other about how it's going. So that starts on September 24th. It's free to book, so do just book onto that course. That's going to be really, really good. Also, Saturday mornings, we have an offering Saturday mornings, which is a chance to get together with Amaladana, Amalavajra and team, and Matt to explore an aspect of the Dharma, explore an aspect of Buddhist teaching, and kind of kick it around and kind of work out, how's that relevant in my life? So that's Saturday mornings at 10:30. Find all the details on our website for that one. So yeah, do join us, particularly for that course. Really, really good way to kind of, well, in a way, it's not going to make you a Buddhist, but it's going to give you a really good chance to check out whether, just try out being a Buddhist. Try it out for a little while, see if it kind of works for you, see what happens. Yeah. So you could really encourage you to get onto that. So finally, just wanted to thank everybody for coming. Thank particularly Jack on the tech, making all the camera angles happen and so on and so forth. And thanks to Charlotte for elucidating, that's the word, isn't it? The gratitude for us. If you want to, what I'd encourage you to do now is go and have a cup of tea and a comfort break, but then join us on the Zoom. Alex B and Alex A. Sounds unlikely, I know, but Alex B and Alex A will be hosting the Zoom call, and the links for that are in the chat box as well. So if you're brand new, just try it out. It's a very, very friendly, easy way to just start coming in to relationship with other people to discuss your meditation, how it's going, thoughts and things that are occurring to you about meditation and your practice generally. So yeah, just try it out. The Zoom will be starting at about 7:45. Okay, so that's it from us. So yeah, wishing you all a very good night.